The Barnes & Noble 50% off sale will be happening as this video drops. So I thought, for the first time I've ever done this, I thought I'd make some recommendations for things for you to consider picking up if you're in the States and you're able to participate. Also, if you're in the UK, sometimes other retailers sort of match prices, and or maybe you have a friend or something who can participate for you and ship the discs over to you here in the UK. But yeah, I've got 6 titles here that sometimes don't get talked about as much as others, so I wanted to bring them to people's attention if they're looking for something different to buy from the Criterion collection. Now, my first pick is a film from 1952 directed by Vittorio De Sica, and it is Umberto D. Now, this is widely considered a masterpiece of Italian neorealism, but it seems to be overshadowed quite a lot by The Bicycle Thieves. Now, The Bicycle Thieves is also a masterpiece, but my personal preference De Sica film is Umberto D. It pulls on the heartstrings a little bit more and tells the story of an elderly gentleman in post-war Italy, and how he is basically being forgotten by society. And people are really struggling with their day-to-day lives after the war. And this old gentleman is basically been neglected, and he is struggling to look after his dog, and it's just about his struggles. And it's a bit of a downer, the film. It can be a bit depressing to watch, but it's also very heartfelt, and it's a bit of a weepy, and it just tells a very human story about the lives of some of the people in different countries who are sort of trying to get by in post-war. So it's an incredible film. Beautiful ending, and it's one that, although lots of people who have seen it regard it as a masterpiece, I just don't see people bringing it up in recommendation videos, so I just wanted to highlight Umberto D. For my next pick, I wanted to talk about Herc Harvey's Carnival of Souls. This is one that may crop up in sort of horror related videos by some YouTubers who cover a lot more horror related stuff, but I don't see this being covered in general by Criterion enthusiasts, and I wanted to highlight it here, something you should consider picking up. So it tells the story of a woman from Kansas City who recently survives a sort of a drag car race. She's like fooling around with her friends, and she survives, and she's just wants to get away from the situation and moves to another city to become an organist in a church. And this strange person keeps following her around and compelling her to basically visit this really weird abandoned pavilion. It's a very eerie film. A lot of people compare it to sort of like some of the imagery you might see in like Ingmar Bergman films. You can see that maybe David Lynch took a lot of influence from this, and certainly George A. Romero took influence from this for Night of the Living Dead. So if any of these like buzzwords that I'm saying interest you, then you should definitely check out Carnival of Souls, because it is an incredibly well made, low budget film made by people who are in sort of like educational videos or industrial videos, like how to operate machinery and things like that. So this is a very interestingly made film. And yeah, I absolutely adore it. And again, I just want to show this off. I adore this cover art. And there's a wonderful array of special features on this disc, including a video essay by David Cairns. There's selected scene commentary from the director, and it's just a great package. And yeah, I adore it. And more people should pick it up and watch it, because it's definitely worth adding to your collection, particularly if you're a horror enthusiast and you've not seen this. But if you're a film fan in general, it's got a lot to offer. I was going to throw this at the end, but I'm going to throw it in the middle of the mix. I wanted to sort of have like a wild card one. So I wanted to talk about John Waters' Multiple Maniacs. I am divine. Now this is maybe a hard sell, but I want to try and influence anyone to maybe pick up the John Waters films if they're maybe considering their place. Some people do think, well, why are these films in the Criterion collection? Because they're basically trash. And I agree, but I love trash. You either you love John Waters or you don't, but there are a lot of people who haven't sampled, any of the work, or especially the early work of John Waters, because of his reputation or what they think his films might be like. They are trash. It's very, very thoughtful, and smarter than what some people may give it credit for or know it might be. Trash, but it's very low budget, DIY, can be offensive to some people, but I think these films, all the films that are in the Criterion collection directed by John Waters, are very important films, and I love all of them. And I think Multiple Maniacs is my favorite out of all of them. The film is very much a mockery of like coming out of the 60s era. So it was made in 1970, of the whole, hippie vibe, and how John Waters was sort of very anti-hippie and wanted to make something that would offend the peace and love, peace signed generation, and just cause a bit of an outrage and stir up some controversy, and he most certainly did. I think the film is hilarious, but I can understand that this isn't for everyone. But if you feel like you want to watch something a bit edgy, that's really rough around the edges, that has a lot of supplements to complement why the Criterion might have put this in the collection, because some people may watch this and go, I have absolutely no idea why the Criterion would put this utter trash in with other very prestigious, historically important films. But in my opinion, this is as important as a lot of, staple, well-known masterpieces in cinema history. So, Multiple Maniacs, and for that matter, anything that is by John Waters in the Criterion collection will do as a recommendation from me. Couldn't go without recommending probably my second favourite director of all time. He's got a few films in the Criterion collection now. I'm hoping this will get a 4K restoration, a 4K like disc at some point. I'm talking about David Cronenberg's The Brood. So this is a body horror related film. It's not saturated with body horror. There is just some more elements at certain parts in the film. It tells a story of a woman who's going under quite radical sort of psychotherapy. Separately, her husband is looking after their child, and for some reason this child is being attacked by like an army or a group of small people, and it's very unnerving. And where the film goes and its message is very out there, but also very Cronenbergian, and I absolutely adore it. This is a bit of an older release now. When did this one come out? It came out in 2015, so it's not too old, 8 years old. This is a US only disc. Second Sight in the UK hold the rights. I believe they still hold the rights in the UK for that release. This disc is particularly good because it has a documentary about the making of the film, and has some stuff with Rick Baker, who's done loads of great special effects work throughout his career. And it's just a wonderful release. And if you've never seen this Cronenberg masterpiece, you need to. Sticking with the horror theme, I know we've moved out of that sort of a period for some people now, but I wanted to make some recommendations for things that I think people aren't talking about as much. Again, as I said earlier, one of my favorite films from the 90s. Very difficult watch. I've only ever seen this film twice. I'm talking about Michael Haneke's Funny Games. This is the original from 1997, as this is the only one that's in the collection. And I know that the remake is a basically scene for scene reshoot, just in the English language, as this one is in German. Yes, and it tells a story of a sort of a bourgeois family vacationing at their sort of lakeside house, where they have like a boat and things like that. And one day, two white-gloved young men basically break into their home and play some very interesting games with them that involve violence and physical and emotional sort of abuse. The film is very interesting in that it's very much a meditation on violence in cinema. Michael Haneke is very vocal about his disdain for the horror genre in general, and how he feels like it's very damaging to people's intellect and their outlook on life, and how they can be desensitized to things that they see through media like film. It's a film that's very much like a lecture, like it wears its message and its themes on its sleeve. But I think the craft in how Michael Haneke made this film is extremely enjoyable, and despite the fact that I don't feel like I need lecturing on these things, doesn't diminish from how good I think the film is, its form, its acting, the stylistic choices, the camera work, everything that goes into this film is just top notch. Maybe my favorite Haneke film. It's a difficult one. I'd have to watch them quite in sequential order maybe in one day and just do a whole thing on that. But Funny Games is an incredible film that, again, I don't see many people talking about, and I highly recommend picking this film up and challenging yourself on what it means to display violence in cinema, and what people get out of it, and how it may infect people. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on that sort of thing. And last but not least, something I've not talked about in ages, but I actually covered this with my good friend Elliot on the first ever Let's Watch 2 podcast, pairing this with The Phantom Thread by Paul Thomas Anderson, talking about Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca from 1940. So this was Hitchcock's first Hollywood film after he moved out of the UK, making films there, and it stars Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine, and tells the story of a woman who falls in love with a very rich sort of aristocrat sort of person, and the film starts off like a romance rom-com-y type film, and then when they get married they move back to his sort of like mansion property, and then it turns out that this man has basically he's still hung up on his dead wife, his previous wife, who is now passed away, and it's about the haunting of the property and the haunting that the person who used to live there has on him and also on his new wife. And it's just very gothic, very well written and acted, and it might even be my favorite Hitchcock film. Not many people just consider this like top 5 Hitchcocks. For me, it's either this or Rear Window. Rear Window's not in the Criterion collection, but yeah, I absolutely adore this. The presentation is fantastic. It's from a 4K restoration, so maybe one day we'll get this in a 4K edition from Criterion. That would be fantastic. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite films in the Criterion collection, and yeah, definitely contender for my favorite Hitchcock. I really love this, and most people talk about the big Hitchcock films and sort of leave Rebecca to the wayside, and it really deserves to be front and center in my opinion in his filmography. So that's 6 recommendations from me for the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion collection sale. Let me know what you think of these picks and what you plan on picking up in the sale that's coming up. I know there's a lot of new releases that have dropped, like the Freaks box set. That's going to be on a lot of people's lists. I didn't want to recommend that one because most people should be picking that one up. It's a high recommendation from me, as sort of like an extra one there. But yeah, there's so much to choose from. Please let me know in the comments if you have anything that you are considering picking up. Until next time, everyone, take care.